Hello, I'm Chuck Phillip of South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. I figured I would do a short video for some of my customers that are moving here from out of state, and they kind of want to know what it's like to be here and what it's like to live in this area. And I can tell you that it's a pretty challenging area to live in as far as the climate more than anything. We get a lot of rainfall here. You can actually go and look this up online yourself. We have about 60 inches of rain year round. If you was to equate that to snowfall, that'd be about 60 feet of snow. So if any of you guys that's coming from up the north part of the United States where you experience a lot of snow, that'll tell you about how much moisture we get. And that's the number one problem we have with houses here as well, is moisture. That's why it's the first and foremost priority of mine when I inspect a house, is to inspect for those sort of issues, because they're quite prevalent. And even people who have lived here all their life don't really realize how important the issue that is. But I'm not going to go into all of that. I have episodes on this channel that pretty much explains a lot of those issues. I primarily want to put this video up here to those that want to know what it's like just to be down here in general. And so I'm going to keep it specific to just the Baldwin County area of South Alabama, which includes Gulf Shores. I'm in Spanish Fort, so I'm right across the bay from Mobile. And a lot of people who work in Mobile live on the eastern shore or in Baldwin County. So just know that. In fact, it's quicker in most cases to get to Mobile from Spanish Fort or Daphne than it is if you lived out in West Mobile. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people that work in Mobile live either in Spanish Fort, Daphne, or maybe even Fairhope, and some maybe further south or further north. So just know that, if your job is taking you to the Mobile area, you may want to consider looking at properties here in Daphne and the Spanish Fort area. The schools are pretty good. They really are. They're not as bad as probably what you've heard through the rumor mill. They actually do have pretty decent schools here. But if you're looking for a house, you got to be really careful about where you choose to look for that home. One thing is, you got a lot of flippers out there right now who are taking distressed properties and they're flipping them, and they do a pretty good job. In fact, some of them do even a great job of addressing the cosmetic issues that these houses have, but I often find big problems with them. I really do. And so that's why it's important that you choose, whether it's me or anyone else, that you choose a home inspector that's going to do a good job, is going to look out for your interest, and not just be a punch list inspector where they just go through and, the water works, and the water's hot, and that's a punch list inspector. And if they can do this in 2 to 3 hours, they're not doing you any service. In fact, that's probably why they're so cheap, is because they're doing 2 or 3 of these inspections a day and only do one of them. And so therefore, it's very important that you yourself evaluate the qualifications of any home inspector that you hire here in South Alabama. Don't never go by the recommendations of anyone, including contractors. And that leads me back to this point as well, that we're having some problems with contractors in this area because we're experiencing a building boom. And so there's a lot of houses that are going up, and they're being built really quick too. And as a result, the quality in some cases have dropped significantly as a result of that. They're just not taking the time to making sure that they building these things as structurally sound as they should be made. And that's one of the reasons why you might want to entertain buying some of these older houses, because usually they have pretty good bones, but you are going to be sacrificing maybe some modern amenities when you do that. Now, as far as what it's like to move in this area, along the Eastern Shore in particular, Spanish Fort, Daphne, Fairhope, you have to really address where you're going to be. In other words, you go and look at the traffic patterns of these neighborhoods, especially in the morning time and in the late afternoon time during the rush hour traffic. You can be stuck in traffic on these 2-lane roads for hours. And some of these neighborhoods are really big too, and they only have one exit or entrance into it, and it can take you 25, 30 minutes to just get out of your neighborhood. And so that's one thing you really want to evaluate when you come down here looking for a house. Try to make the house itself, the beautiness of it or whatever, that really should be secondary. You really should be looking for, how hard is it going to be for me to navigate this area, because it's getting really congested here and the roads have simply just not kept up with the infrastructure. And another thing you have to be mindful of as well is we do have hurricanes. They do hit here. I've been through many of them, and unfortunately. And so you're also going to want to take that into consideration as well. What kind of measures have the homeowner taken to fortify their home for these storms that do come through? And another thing you might want to take into consideration as well is that does the home have natural gas? Now, to me, that would be something that's very important. I know it's not important to everybody, but the reason why it's an important issue for me, for several reasons. One, natural gas is much cheaper and more efficient than electrical power, and we're one of the highest states as far as electrical service as well, just so you know that. But also, you want to put a standby generator on your home, because you can be without power for weeks. And so that's going to be pretty miserable, down here in the summertime when one of these hurricanes come through and it's 95 degrees with 100% humidity. It can be just brutal. It can actually be deadly. And so that's why, I'll always have a home that's got natural gas service coming into it. And so another thing you want to be mindful of as well is that, you need to be prepared for these storms all year long, not just during the summertime. And I've even got some videos on this channel on how to do that. I've survived quite a few of them. And so just become familiar, with where it is you're going to move. Also know that there's areas down here that are prone to flooding. And so you might want to look at the flood maps to see, especially in these newer neighborhoods that are going up. A lot of these new neighborhoods are being built on old farmland. And so as a result, a lot of it has flat areas. And so it may not flood all the time, but, it's not uncommon, to even during a thunderstorm to get several inches of rain. And in a hurricane, you can get a foot or more. And so where it hadn't flooded in 20, 30 years there, all of a sudden it's going to be flooding big time when one of those things come through. So that's something you want to take in consideration as the floodplain that you're in. And also know this as well, that as a general rule, they put this, seems like the line in the sand was drawn at I-10. And so anything north of I-10 is going to be generally cheaper for insurance. Anything south of I-10 has a potential of being a little bit more. Now, if you do buy a fortified house, is what they have, what it's called here. It's called the Alabama Fortification Home Standards. If you buy a fortified house, well, it can help you with your insurance, but usually these fortified homes are ones that are built brand new. But some houses that are older can qualify for some level of that fortification, especially if the roof has been redone to that standard, and it will come with a numbered certificate too. So, don't be fooled by, the seller saying, oh yeah, I've got a fortified roof put on the house. You got to have that certificate. That's the only thing that matters. And so if they have a certificate, that can certainly help you some on your wind coverage, because you have to have two different types for the most part of insurance here. You have to have your general homeowner's insurance, and then what they call wind and hail, and to cover storms, hurricanes, and trees falling on your house, that sort of thing. And so just know that there's different levels of insurance coverage down here, and it can get pretty expensive depending on where you live here and how many and how well your house falls within the specifications of the insurance standards. So these are things you should consider. It's not only the cost of the house that you're looking at buying, but also the cost of the insurance you're going to have to pay to live there too. Now, the property insurance down here isn't too bad. I know I've heard people on the blog saying, well, I can't believe how inexpensive property insurance is, but we have taxes on everything. And so we've got a pretty high sales tax, and so there's just a lot of tax on everything else that more than makes up for that property tax. And it also goes up, it seems like every year as well too. So I don't think it's cheap property insurance. I don't. But yeah, I guess if you're coming from from Long Island, where it's, pretty oppressive up there. I guess it would be, but on the other hand, we don't have for the most part, a lot of jobs down here that pay as well either. So therefore, that has to be kept in line as well. But the main thing is take your time. Don't get in any hurry to find a house. And so probably the thing to do, and what some of my clients have done, is if they've sold their house, where it is they're coming from, New York, California, we get a lot of clients from those two states, is they will come down here and just get a motorhome or travel trailer and find some place to park it and live there until they can either find a house or they can stay there till one gets completed for them. I kind of sort of think that's probably the right tack to do, because in the end you could actually sell the motorhome or travel trailer whenever you get to the point where you can move into your house. And so I think if I was coming here from somewhere else, I think that's what I would do, is go that route. But as far as the area itself, just know that we get a lot of rainfall. It can get really cold here sometimes, and it's always a damp cold. And so I've always said it's either hot and raining or cold and raining, but it's usually always raining, so you don't get any hardly much breaks from this wet weather down here. And the mosquitoes are pretty bad. We've got a lot of insects. We've got a lot of snakes. And so I've got some episodes on snakes, by the way, and don't be too fearful of them. They don't want to fool with you no more than you want to fool with them. If you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. And not only that, but most of them you're going to find around your home anyway are not going to be venomous. And even the venomous ones won't bite you unless you step on them. But these are some of the things you have to be mindful of here. Just take your time wherever it is that you're looking, and it'll also help your realtor too if you will do most of the legwork yourself, as far as picking the neighborhood, and also most important of all, like I said earlier, is just look at the traffic patterns coming in and out of that area. And that's where a lot of people have really gotten upset. They found a really nice home, a really nice neighborhood, and it can take them an hour to get to work just traveling 15 miles. So I'm going to probably follow this up with another part to this as I come across things I think will be important to someone moving out of state. But I'm Chuck Phillips, South Alabama Home Inspections. And also take a look at the other videos I have on this channel. They'll save you thousands of dollars, because knowledge is savings. And I'll create these little short videos about all the issues that affect us specifically to this area here. So that's why they're really beneficial. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.